In today's session, we're going to talk and reflect on our military experience. So I'm Steve Hough, Managing Principal Consultant here at Baines Simmons, and I'm together here with my colleague Stuart, and we actually did our initial helicopter training nearly 30 years ago now, and have flown together quite a few times, but since gone on slightly different paths. I went on to Chinook helicopters, but I left the Air Force 22 years ago and spent quite some time in the civil industry, working with a large airline. I was safety manager at Scandinavian Airlines before joining Baines Simmons. But Stu, you've recently joined the company, and it's great to be back with you again.
It is, yeah. Hi, I'm Stuart Grimsey. I'm a senior consultant now with Baines Simmons, and I left the military less than a year ago, so quite a gap between us. In my military career, I had experience of helicopters and of fast jets and of multi-engines, so I've seen all those worlds there. But it would be good, I think, to find out what your reflections were when you left 22 years ago, and how you saw safety in the military sphere and the civilian sphere then, and maybe how you see it now.
Yeah, well, I first got into safety while I was still in the military, and we've both flown rotary, and we all joke about anybody who flies rotary gets into safety very quickly. We've both had our bumps and scrapes. I had a wire strike flying in Bosnia. We flew through some high tension cables. Thankfully, it was in a Chinook, which is a nice big aircraft. We took some chunks out of the rotor blades and got it on the ground. And you've had an incident as well that you mentioned.
Yeah, in my first tour, I had a somewhat uncontrolled landing in a helicopter. Everyone walked away, so it was good. But yes, helicopters are maybe not the safest arena of aviation for everybody.
Yeah, but I think looking back on that time in the military, I left prior to the Haddon Cave inquiry, which was based around the tragic Nimrod accident. And I think there was different cultures before and after. So a lot of my military experience was around that time. And, we saw ourselves as safe, but there were more accidents, I think, in the late 90s and early 2000s.
I would say almost definitely.
Yeah. And we've both lost friends during that time, which really focuses in on there. But now looking post Haddon Cave, there was a huge change in the military culture. And also, I've been away for a lot of that period, but we do have military customers. I get to go back, and I visited one of my old bases a couple of years ago and did an assessment there. And it was really interesting to see the huge difference now in the way safety is managed. I think it's become, it's a lot more aligned with the civil world. I don't want to say more professional, but just done very differently.
I think that's the key, is that culture. I think the just culture had an accelerated birth almost within the military because of the Haddon Cave report. And having seen that mature now over the space of nearly 20 years, it's almost unrecognisable to what we experienced in the late 90s when we were flying together. They've had that advantage of that real drive and acceleration to attain that, and that buy-in to just culture. And that's a really strong aspect that we see in UK defence, and indeed as a company that we see around Europe within military organisations. So that's a real difference. But I think you're right on the similarities. There are a lot of things that we do pretty well the same. Yeah. And I don't know what you've seen in your interactions.
Well, I think a lot of the approach is quite similar now, and the same kind of rigour is put into both sides, and both sides of the operation, both civil and military, are safe, but it's how that's approached. And I think putting the best practices from both are put in together, but also seeing some of the differences. I was quite surprised, particularly looking from the civil side back at the military now, at the amount of resource that is available for safety. I think when you're dealing with civil industry, and I came from that background as well, looking at resource is one of those key issues. And everybody thinks on the civil side, there's loads of resource here. It's a business, and the military is obviously under government budgets, but there are actually people and resource available to put into safety in a different way.
I think you're right, and that would be one of the key things for me when I was within the military construct not long ago. We always said we haven't got enough people, we haven't got enough resource to really do this well. Well,
and now you're seeing the civil side. What does it look like?
I see a very different viewpoint, and I see actually the military are quite blessed with the resource that they're given to do their work. I'm not saying they're not very busy people, but compared to the civilian world, I think they're pretty well done. So that's just a couple of our reflections on the changes in the civil versus military safety scene, I suppose, in the last 22 years or so. If you see things differently, please ask a question, write a comment, and we'll do our best to answer. Thanks very much.